Thank you for joining us here at iTech for another episode of Unpacked. In this episode of Unpacked, we will be meeting with David and Jon as they discuss what it was like to be on both a dental and mechanical training in West Africa.
Jon, we had a good trip to West Africa this year.
We did.
Last month. And
it's hard to believe, already last month.
Right, exactly. So I know that the mechanical training went well. You guys, I didn't get to spend a lot of time over with you, but did get to help you.
Borrowed some tools from you guys to work on some dental chairs.
Yeah, we got to change the chair from left hand to right hand.
And back.
Wasn't sure exactly what we were doing, but we got it worked out. I know our training began a day later than yours because of some flight scheduling, but it was that kind of out of our control. But I know, for us, the mechanical training went well. We had a good number of students, and I think where we all were, we had good place to train, don't you think?
Yeah, we had. It was nice to be able to stay, eat, and train all.
Absolutely.
The devotions of the morning on the third floor, eating and sleeping on the second floor, and then training on the ground floor. So that was nice. We don't have to lose time traveling back and forth from where you're staying to where you're doing the training. So that was certainly an advantage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Those having to get up in the morning and travel to a training area just is a time killer sometimes. Mm-hmm. And in the evenings the same thing.
Right.
Particularly when everybody does. Training may not finish at the same time.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to be quite as aware of those things as long as the students agree to stay over a little bit. So that worked out good. I know our training was outside in kind of a shed, lean-to type shed, which it typically is. But the weather cooperated. We didn't have any during the day anyway. It wasn't any issues, and it makes for a good breeze, and the students were able to stay there also. They weren't traveling,
right?
So that it helped them be on time.
Did they sing the "Learn to Be on Time" song?
Not there.
Okay.
No.
Maybe down south.
Maybe. Yeah. Not there. Not there. They didn't. But
for week one.
Yeah. So I tell you something I did enjoy about training, something I learned that I liked. And so typically we'll take either chalk for a chalkboard. You never know what you're going to have.
I had a dry erase board.
Well, or we'll take dry erase
markers. Weren't always great, but...
Well, we take markers, and you could have had ours, because here's why.
I should have talked to you then.
They didn't have either one, but what they did bring was a big flip chart to paper.
Yeah, that works.
And the thing works good about that is when you want to go back and review.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
You just go, whoa, wait a minute, we didn't erase that. We flip it back over and talk about it, and then laugh at the pictures I tried to draw. So, but that was a good part about the flip chart. And I thought, I kind of like these flip charts.
Yeah.
I never had used one before. Yeah. So, of course, where we were, we didn't necessarily need electricity to train, but you guys did.
Well, it was nice. We had it. We're not. Most of the time, we are operating without electricity. At least this had a large generator off-site where you're not trying to talk over it. And so they had we don't normally have this. We had a classroom that had air conditioning and a projector. So we used that. I plugged my laptop in, and we had air conditioning when the power was on. We had air conditioning. We had a projector. So that was nice. And we don't normally we just have the manuals and the students, and I maybe will show the videos on my laptop, and I'm just going through the same paper printed out manual that they have. Yeah. But this was nice. Got to use the screen, and I used dry erase board some, but we don't need electricity. The main thing is that we have a way to sterilize the instruments. We use pressure pots, and so we had there was an electric stove that they used when the power was on, and that's nice because that nice even heat. Now when there wasn't power, then they would just bring out the charcoal.
Well, that's what I was referring to. I walk in this nice, facility we're staying in, and there's charcoal burning inside the building. I'm like, is the oxygen level good in here? I'm not sure.
You brought your carbon monoxide detector? I can't stay here. It's not safe.
So that's what I was referring to, and I walked in. I'm like, are we grilling today?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Ron could brought some hot dogs over on dry ice.
So the power didn't affect us. Well, the light too. See, we have more light being outside.
That's true.
Made it a little more difficult for you guys.
Yeah, we didn't have as many. A lot of times we're working late, and so the time of day, daylight does have an effect on it. We're using headlamps to treat patients, but we didn't have any really late nights because we just, one of the downsides, we didn't have enough patients. We didn't have as many patients as we would have liked.
Yeah.
So we got done early most days and just did a lot of review. It gave us more classroom time, but really wanted more. Ideally would have had a little more hands-on time with the students, but we were able to manage with what we had. And
yeah, I got to tell you, this is the first time I had been on a training where there were that many two-cycle engines on every motorcycle they had. The ministry had was a two-cycle, and they were Yamahas. They were nice bikes.
Nice bike, yeah.
And so we just didn't see we actually didn't see any engine problems like we typically see with some of the
less desirable
engines on them. And so that was a challenge. That was
right.
a challenge for Ray
Right.
I know that training these guys when they go out into the field, they're going to see these other engines, that less expensive engines. So that was a challenge to come up with, engines that the things they're going to be seeing. So, but like I say, they had really, really nice bikes there, which I'd never seen before.
And that was a dynamic, maybe a somewhat similar parallel of we were just outside of the Capitol, and so there's a little more access to dental care than in a lot of places. I mean, this country where we're at has 8 dentists for 4 million people, so there's plenty of dental need, but most of those 8 dentists are in the capital city, and so people have more access to care, a little more knowledge. We had people come in asking to get their teeth cleaned, get teeth filled, get dentures to replace missing teeth, and so that was a little bit of a challenge. We were maybe a little too close to civilization. I mean, we had the approval of the government to be there. They knew we were there doing training, but that was a challenge that we had. Yeah. And we just had to focus on the kind of the middle, the students that were showing more promise. We had 3 that we just couldn't really give experience to for various reasons. One was just kind of struggling from the start, but just I think maybe eyesight too was a challenge, and just comprehension, and so just had we just knew right away he wasn't going to work out. And then 2 students showed up late, so we had to focus on the rest of the class. And one of the guys was from down south where 2 guys that have been trained, one in 2017, one in 2019, are working there, so he's going to get plenty of mentorship, so we really weren't too worried about him. So we kind of had these 5 in the middle that we were focused on, and so that's how we really had to work with the patient pool that we had.
Yeah, and we had one of the students or trainees we had was one of our partners' go-to guys, and he was a great trainee. I mean, he was, and it was nice to have that contact with him when I needed to ask questions to our partner or whatever it might be. He was really, really good about that, and he was a big asset to have training with us.
We had probably the parallel. I mean, he was one of your students, right?
Yeah.
But probably the parallel for, we had a guy, I forget his name. He wasn't a student, but he was kind of the crowd control guy, registering all the patients, and that's really important. Somebody that, I mean, in this case, we didn't have massive numbers of patients, but everybody, he kept an eye on who was there to be seen and registered everybody, and so that's important for us. to have somebody that's responsible for that, so we're not having to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the other side, we had, we have, some students who seem to be maybe a little bit more disconnected. It's hard to really get them to. It was difficult for me to find a way to get them engaged. You know what I mean? Trying different kind of things and asking them specific questions, but just to get them as engaged. And that's always a challenge, to get the students that are more involved and more, seemingly more. I'm not. Maybe they're as interested. Maybe they just don't know how to express it. But you always have those ones that move out to the front soon, and it's typically that happens pretty quick. But you kind of know who you need to spend more time with.
And sometimes even pairing some of the stronger students with the weaker students. I mean, yes, obviously you spend time with them as well, but sometimes when they have a classmate that's going through the training that can help them as well, and there might be some, our English and their English is not always the same, and so just somebody that can help. We had, and that's why it's important, kind of communicating with your training team throughout the week of, for us, I had Ernie, another Dennis, we had, former trainee that was, we were consulting throughout the week. Okay, who do you see that is struggling? Who needs more attention? Who, and even, Amy at the sterilization table, observing how they're, do they know the names of the instruments when they're working at the table? And so those are, we're kind of all observing this same pool of students, and are you seeing what I'm seeing, or and getting feedback from each other throughout the week and making decisions about how we prioritize, who we focus on in terms of what we teach. And sometimes you'd have to make the tough decision to cut somebody from the they still get to be there, but not actively allowing them to do certain things.
And like you said, the patience that that you guys see, and then the units that we have to repair are very similar in that that's how much training we get to do.
That's it. Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal, and something you can't control.
Right. That is right. That's the responsibility of the partner, and
right.
Yeah.
And they can only control so much. They can only control how many people come.
Right. I mean, there are some things. Right. Some things they can control, and there's some they can't.
Right. So that's how it was with our units. I got there and I saw all those 2-stroke Yamahas, and I went, "Whoa, this is gonna be challenging here. Has anybody got any engine problems? No." So that was kind of challenging for me. So, but overall it was a good week. We had the whole, half a day of COVID testing again, which, was a time killer for sure.
I mean, I'm just thankful that on the dental side we had, 2 guys who had been trained, one in 2017, one in 2019. And I just told them, I said, hey, we're going to be gone. I don't know how long we're going to be gone, but you guys are in charge.
Yep.
And they had a guy that had been through, a guy that was one of the new students this year, but they had trained how to do sterilization and had been doing instrument sterilization for them for a while now. So I told him, you're in charge of the sterilization table. And so that was nice for us of, just feeling like we could be gone. And, obviously they're going to be on their own after we leave anyway, but just, while the training's still going on, knowing that, we've got former students that are capable and able to supervise.
Yeah, well, I did the same thing. I mean, when we found out we were, going to leave, I made a point that last, I can't remember now what time we left to go for that, how early it was that morning, or it wasn't first thing in the morning, was it?
It was, I think we left like 8. We didn't get back till almost 11.
Okay, yeah, so that's right. That afternoon.
6 different stations. $75 and 3 hours later.
Exactly. Yeah. So
at least the guy was pretty gentle with the old pipe cleaner in my nose, so I thanked him.
You did?
I got a fist bump from the COVID tester guy.
Well, Good.
And I got a negative test. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
I got to come home.
That's what we were saying. Think negative thoughts. Think negative thoughts. So that's kind of what we all were doing.
Well, we had a lady. Yeah, I mean, thankfully, we had a lady from another group that got an extended vacation.
Yeah.
But we put her. She helped in the sterilization. We were grateful to have her. So
the thing. So how many times did you change seats? So we had all these chairs lined up, and forever.
That was quite a system.
And I don't know how many.
You got in line and you registered, and then you went somewhere else and you paid, and you got a receipt that showed you paid, and then you went to another area, and some people were just walking right in line, some people were sitting down, and then this guy would call your number, and then you went in this other room, and then you went. I couldn't totally figure out.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was quite a system there.
But we stood up and moved chairs just every time
it was
someone moved.
medical musical chairs, I guess.
Oh, 3 hours. 3 hours of it. Yeah. So that was anyway, we're thankful we were all negative and we all got to come home.
Now our team is going to answer some randomly selected but frequently asked questions that we often receive regarding training trips.
Here we go. Share a favorite highlight from the trip. Oh, I know mine.
All right.
So my favorite highlight was one day while we were training, the cook came in. Now this the lady who did our cooking, and this was all out.
This was on the first week.
This was
down
the first
south.
week, right down south, in another place, and so it was very, very primitive. And she comes to the training carrying in her arms a dead monkey, fresh dead monkey, and just stops the training. She has to show it to me. And so we had a photo shoot of a dead monkey, and so later on, the next, might have been the same day we were leaving, and the monkey was in the fire. They were burning all the hair off of it. And Dave stopped me and was telling me how that process, and so Billy was training with me, right?
Billy 1 2 3.
And Billy 1 2 3. He was training with me, and he asked, a lot more than I want. He asked questions more than I wanted to know, right? Of course, the main thing was how much pepper we're going to put on it. But we weren't having it that day. We were going to have it the next day.
Sweet baby rays.
Yeah. So, I told him, I said, Billy, can't quit monkeying around with these people. We have got to keep moving, right? So it was zero refrigeration. So I'm like, well, what do we do with this thing till tomorrow? And so they just throw it up on the roof, up on the thatch roof, and let whatever happen to it. So that was my favorite highlight from the trip.
So I wonder if I could tell a monkey story from my time there in 2019. Can I do that? But I still get to answer this one, right? So
here we go.
Same location, 2019, down south. One night we're having soup, and it's got monkey meat, and it's kind of like there were ribs in there, and I'm like, what is this? And I pull it out, and it's the monkey hand, and it's saluting me like this. And I pulled the hand back, and it snapped right back. And I was like, you know what? I drew the line there, and I decided not to eat that. So that's 2019, but this is 20. All seriousness, my highlight of the trip was we got to see 3 generations of dental trainees. One of these, the one guy, Stanley, was trained in 2017, and that trip initially was kind of just we didn't have a lot of fruit from that trip in terms of people that continued on, but Stanley really took it and ran with it and taken out, oh man, he's probably over 15, he's seen it, I think 1,500 patients, something like that, in the last 5 years. And he helped me train back in 2019. It was just me, and he helped train a new crew of students in 2019, and one of those prints came to this training. and just to see where those guys were at. I mean, if I kind of wanted to see where Prince was at. You know, we let him take out the wisdom teeth, the 8s, and you know, pretty early on, I'm like, this guy's doing well. I gave him some advice here and there, but and really, just with the limited numbers, didn't even want him seeing patients because I had to focus. And so, just to see, and then they had another guy, Francis was a new trainee this year, and just to see 3 generations from this ministry down south where you were, just see these guys faithfully using that.
Yeah.
And you know, Stanley has such a reputation. The hospital will send him patients. The hospital where they're at down south will send him dental patients if they've got somebody that comes in. And so, and he's just stayed really home. We had this, it was kind of weird, we had this interview
I was going
midweek.
to have you share.
And the radio, I can't remember if it was the radio or TV, they came in and they interviewed Jamie, and they interviewed me, and they interviewed Stanley. And so, Stanley, we hear you're the big man down south where you live. And I loved his answer. He said, well, the goal is not to be big. The goal is to glorify God. And the interview just stopped. Like it just kind of dropped the microphone. And so that was my highlight. Just seeing
that
Stanley.
was good. Yeah.
So anyway, am I up next?
Sure.
All right. What were your travel arrangements like? How long were your flights/car rides? I'll let you answer that first.
Okay.
Yours was a little more exciting than mine.
Well, so when we left the States, the very first time I think I'd ever actually traveled beside somebody that I knew, okay? And so it was Billy 123, and so Billy's at the window, and I'm on the aisle, and there's one seat between us, and we're just having the conversation, sizing people up coming down the aisle, just hoping you get a medium to petite person sitting in between you. And
not so, huh?
And there I was.
So there I was.
Right. There he was. He came down the aisle sideways with his shoulders were about that wide. And this guy sat down between us, and I was like, and Billy was over against the window. And so Billy says to the guy, hi, how you doing? I'm Billy 123. He says, I'm his parole officer, and pointed to me. He says, don't worry, he's harmless, but I would keep an eye on my wallet. That's how he introduced me to the guy, right? So anyway, that was part of my flight, that awkward 8-hour flight. But yeah, so then we had another flight, down further south into the jungles, on an MAF flight, and it was, about an hour and a half or so. So, we're greeted on motorcycles and run 3 deep on motorcycles. So, yeah, the travel.
3 deep, that's nothing for down there.
Well, no, and with suitcases and backpacks. So
one on each.
So it was an interesting transportation, to say the least there.
Well, mine was pretty uneventful compared to your week.
Yeah, but the Toyotas were nice. We rode in.
Yeah, that's true. Toyota Land Cruisers.
Yeah,
in
the real ones.
Yeah, the real. Yeah. So this was a little bit different. My wife and I drove to the Orlando airport, put all the seats down in our Dodge Caravan. We had 9 bags between the 2 of us. That was logistically, that was a little bit of a challenge. So I dropped her off, parked the car, came back, and normally fly Delta, but flew United, went through Brussels. They gave us a almost Belgian waffle on the flight. Did you get one of those?
Well, we bought some in the airport.
Yeah, they have some in the airport. So I was looking for Waffle House, but they didn't have. I don't know that we really were authorized to leave the airport anyway, but so anyway, but a little less eventful than yours, I guess. Just traveling to the capital city and a little bit on the ground and some Land Cruisers.
Yeah, the Land Cruiser rides were nice, man. I enjoyed those.
Yeah.
All righty. Oh well.
I think you may. Did you already answer that question?
I think so. What kinds of food did you eat? So, so as mentioned earlier, we had some monkey.
That's down south. That was the wild.
Down south, and then they called it bush hog.
Bush meat.
Well, they called them bush hog, those wild pigs. But all I could get was this big metal implement that goes behind a tractor with a 3-point hitch that mows the grass, a bush hog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I kept
Down
thinking.
here.
So we called it bush pig, just so I wouldn't. Yeah. And I, to be honest, I don't know what else we ate there. I just
Don't worry
know.
about it.
Now, well, I'm not now. But I was, yeah. So, and then after that week, then we met up with you guys for a week,
Yeah.
and we ate chicken, and of course, tons of rice, which was good.
Yeah.
Which was good. And so, yeah, that was the.
Okay.
And then Billy 123 brought a suitcase full of spam. He brought spam and
really
peanut
came
butter.
through.
Yeah,
He's if you're stranded on an island, that's the guy you want to be with.
we had spam and peanut butter and zero bars and just a little bit of everything with him. So,
Yeah, I had never seen spam in like a foil Ziploc bag, whatever you call that.
Oh.
I've seen canned spam, but yeah.
you roll that up in a flour tortilla. It's really nice.
Yeah, we I mean, in terms of I didn't go down south. I've as I mentioned earlier, I've been down south with the monkey ham, so this was a little uneventful in terms of food excursions. I was
We did go to the hotel, that restaurant.
That's true.
On
Easter Sunday,
Easter Sunday.
Billy 123's 65th birthday, and this candle sparkler,
Roman candle, man, it was huge.
3 cupcakes, and that was a pretty that was the day we left. Yeah,
Right.
Easter Sunday.
You ate off the bar.
I
Right?
went to the buffet.
Yeah,
so got a little bit smorgasbord from around the world. You know,
I stuck with pizza. It was nice to have just something that I kind of recognized. You know, it was nice.
yeah, I should have asked them if they had any bush hog. They didn't have it out there, but buffet. Sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, just give us
a minute.
We'll bring it out." So
So I think overall, I think that between the training down further south and even where we were together, I think overall, I'm excited. I've already gotten a few pictures back and some reports of these guys from our perspective, making mechanical repairs on generators and motorcycles. And that's very encouraging to me. Very encouraging to me.
And I think this partner down south, they've received multiple training and they've been very faithful.
Yeah.
Using what the trainings that iTech has given them in the past.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that they will continue that.
Yeah. So, it just as primitive as part of this training was, it's very exciting to me to know. So that these guys could take, I'm not exactly sure of the number of how many actual generators. That was the predominant thing. When you have zero electricity, no grid, you just, and so it was really exciting to me. And I can honestly say they repaired about, I don't remember if it was 7 generators themselves, through the process that we train and how we do it, and and supplying them with the tools to do it with. They were able to do that, and that was really encouraging to me to see that. Put some value to it. It puts value to the training when you can have for us, there's these five things that we're looking for to get an engine to run, and to have them work through them logistically and
Problem solving,
right, and it's a system. And so, and sometimes it may, something may look like it's repaired or you could check it off, but you can't. So we have to go back through them. But for them to do that gave them great confidence, man. It gave them great confidence in their ability. And I really think that's what kind of catapulted them out to get started, because they could see that there in the classroom. And that's the hard part, as you know, is literally keeping your hands away and letting them do it. letting them do it. And that's the challenging part for me and most anybody is just step back and just, I have a little more leadway. I can let them make a small mistake and go back and correct and explain what they did. You're a little bit different, but you don't want that happening too much. But I can do that, and that's a challenge. But I like going that route. So overall, I think it went well, and I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing as far as the students using their newly learned skill with their tools they've been equipped with.
Yeah, I think for me, some similar thoughts of, I think it's, as I mentioned earlier, encouraging to see 3 generations from the ministry partnering with down south. And, one of the new trainees from the ministry that's where we were staying, the guy was relatively close to Stanley and the guys down south, and we actually sent his instruments with Stanley and said, look, you need to go work with Stanley, get some more mentorship, and when he says you're ready, then he's going to give you these instruments. And just knowing, and also for them, the 3rd generation, Francis, continue to get mentorship, and also, the 2 of the trainees from the new class that are there close to just outside the Capitol already sent me, some WhatsApp photos of them, seeing patients, and
that's encouraging.
So I think that's obviously there are challenges, like you said, it's if you allow it, it can be frustrating because you could step in and you could do it so much faster, but that's not the goal. For us, we don't want them hurting anybody. Obviously, patient safety comes first, but as long as they're doing the right technique, even if it takes them longer, as long as they're doing what they're taught to do, and they're on the right path, we're gonna we got to kind of back away, let them. It's going to take them longer than it's going to take you and me, but just letting them, struggle as long as they're they know they're doing the right things.
Right.
Letting them that's how they're going to have to learn. And so, so anyway, just kind of being able to take a step back and know, hey, I'm here. I'm not here to do this myself. I'm here to teach them so that when I leave, there's somebody here that can continue this on.
Yeah. So toward the last day of the training, all I really want to be is a safety net. That's really all I want to be, and I don't want to have to, do a whole lot then. So I think that's kind of where I like to be. So.